started over a woman, okay?
Yeah.
Then later on wars were fought over ego and the stuff like that, you know, who is what and everything. But now every war, I'm not even talking about actual combat, I'm talking about, you know, every conflict is about one thing on the resources.
Yeah.
Now, that is the subject that we are supposed to be talking about. How are the resources of this country being utilized, and are we beneficiaries of them? And then you realize that the answer is no. And because we have not involved ourselves in that conversation, actually, for the most part, everybody was looking for safe space somewhere, hide there, find a way of earning, you know, something, if you are lucky, a decent living, but otherwise a living, and then like don't understand what resources as a country we have, where you're supposed to be in all of this, how it's supposed to affect you, if you are, if we had the good leadership, and somehow, so we don't talk about the things that matter.
Yeah.
Now, when I started doing the runs, it was all about one thing. We have to start talking about resources.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing the leadership does not want us to talk about. Because the reason they perpetuate themselves in power is because of resources. That's what they want. That's what everybody is after. So we have to start talking about that. Now, the thing had to start with the conversation before it goes to where it is right now.
Yeah.
So before I even came out to announce, I had to first change people's conversation.
Yeah.
So we start about the oil. How come we are seeing ourselves appearing, you know, as one of crude oil exporters in the world? Where is the crude oil coming from? You say we are not, you know, extracting crude oil from Hoima and Pakwach, yet we actually are. So you bring that out. Then you bring out the issue of gold, the issue of this, and say, well, this is how much we are apparently exporting in gold, and this is where the taxes from it, and so on. So then you get people talking about those subjects. Now, because that's what they really should be talking about. This thing of trivialities, you know, and we really are, okay, there are places where people talk about different things. Not everybody is going to be talking about resources, you understand. But then, you realize that the trivial stuff was going even to Parliament. And you're saying, surely we should be discussing bigger things than, you know.
There's more serious things that we can talk about.
Yeah, so I wanted to first start that conversation. And I did everything I could in my power to make people, first of all, think about resources. Then, after that, I said, now, where do we stand in the resources? Are we going to be a partake of them, or are we just going to be standers by, as you know, other people are partaking, and you stand by and cheer? And that's what hurts me, because with the system that is, obviously I would be on the side of those who are, you know, not partakers, because the partakers are very few, and we all know them. Now I say, and now, why should I be this side, yet I'm a Ugandan? And why should you or her be this side, yet we're actually Ugandans? So, why don't we create a scenario where if somebody has any bit of innovation or business acumen or anything, because the country has these resources, they can actually go and be a partake of them. And you see, when you share out these things, and I'm not talking about sharing out in terms of everybody get this amount, you understand? Just making it available for, you know, people who can innovate to that effect. You get an economy which is bigger. Everything else changes. You know, even media people are paid more because there's a lot more advertisers, because there's a lot more money coming in. Somehow everybody who is doing anything gets a bit of it. I remember one time I was in some faraway country with some people. I was in sports media, and these are people who do the same things that I do. And so you're there, you realize that they are sports journalists like you are, but they have a lot more money than you do. There was this guy this guy was dishing out dollars and what, just because he comes from a better economy. And I'm doing the same things here, but I'm on a shoestring budget. I have to first check the price of a cup of coffee before I send for one. And then there's this guy who doesn't care, apparently, about, you know, all these Benjamins that he had. He was just pulling them out of the wallet. Then I say, how is this possible? Now, the thing is, the kind of economy we should be having here, considering the resources that we have, which I have spoken about in so many different fora, should be able to have somebody, regardless of what you are doing, have a lot more money around yourself, because the country in which you are is thriving at that level. You understand? Now you see, there was one subject which was started about how much media people are getting and all that. You go across the border and they are getting a lot more.
50,000 of
now go across the border and they are getting a lot more. Why? Because they're in a big economy and everything is different. Now you can't even blame the media houses, because how many advertisers do they have? How big is our corporate sector here? It's very small outside of the banks and the telecoms and perhaps the drinks and what. I mean, it's a really small thing because it's a really small economy, and it can be better considering the resources that we have. And when the economy grows, everybody, wherever they are,
they'll be happy.
Somehow gets, a pinch of it.
A number of questions, Kabuleta, that I'm going to ask you. Are you wanting for Uganda to be a unique situation, or are there case studies that you can refer to in terms of Africa and its politics and resources and the management? Are you saying Uganda is very peculiar, younger, the things that you're talking about? Or are there other African countries that you can point to but like these guys have done because of the resources that they have and the way that they have managed them, they are not central to just a group of people. That's one of the questions. And then the other one, my experience, the little experience that I have with...
Perhaps you will confuse me. Let me first answer that one.
Okay.
Then you ask. Now, here's the thing. There is nothing peculiar about what I'm talking about. I can tell you this. If Rwanda had one half of the resources we have, we would be lining up to get visas to go to Rwanda. It's just that simple.
Okay.
Because we have almost all the gorillas, they get almost all the money from those gorillas. They are charging $1,000 for the
treks,
for the treks.
Yeah.
And they are getting a lot of tourists. And it's like now the gorillas, everybody knows, associates them with Rwanda, yet actually a majority of them are in Uganda.
In Uganda.
Now, if they had the oil we have, the minerals we have, if we had the arable land we have, and all the other things, I'm telling you they would have made much more of it. Because they are making a lot out of very little. You know that. So,
Rwanda is a good example. Who else?
Tanzania, who was recently declared middle-income country. What do they have on us apart from a coastline, which we do not have, of course landlocked and all that, and good leadership? What else? Do they have the resources we have? They don't. Okay? So, we are not talking about unique things. We are talking about simple things which other people have done. When that man took over, the man in Tanzania, they had also signed fake deals with China, which were very one-sided. Okay? Extremely one-sided. And because of corruption, where somebody sells the whole country and signs a deal which ties you down for 99 years. He came and he had to get back to the renegotiating table with China and try to reverse some of those things and then change a few things. And in a short time, five short years, it has gotten them this far. So it's just good leadership. We are not talking about America or Europe. No, I'm talking about Tanzania, Rwanda, our neighbors who have done a lot with much less than what we have. And here we have, blessed by God. Okay? And as I wrote in my statement,
gifted by nature.
Yeah, blessed in the above the ground with the perfect climate and everything. Blessed on the ground with half of East Africa's arable land. All the other countries I've mentioned share the other half. One half is in Uganda.
Yes.
And blessed under the ground with oil, with a lot of minerals, 27 different minerals. Almost 80% of Uganda's mass has some form of mineral which can be extracted. Which is commercially viable, you understand?
Yeah.
So how can we be what we are with the things that we have? Does that answer your question?
It does. Now, we're going to go for a short break, but when we come back, I wanted to ask you, in 1993, I met Mao. He had come to America to the UNA conferences. Robert Mao, I think we were in Cincinnati. And somebody introduced us, and I started talking to him and told me, yes, I have aspirations, to lead the country. I want to be the president of Uganda. But what I'm doing right now, my strategy is I am going to go through every level and step of leadership so that when I get to the top, I'll be able to fully understand and comprehend what happens at local government, what happens when you're MP, different levels of leadership. Now, there's people that would have thought that a seasoned enough politician that has had some experience maybe should be this person stepping into this gap and this space to take us forward. But a man like you, people will look at you and say, politically, there's, people will say, where is the seasoning? Where is, he's just, a young elder that is coming up and is passionate, but can he take us there? When we come back, I want us start from there and tell us how do you defend that? That yes, I am the man. I have the capabilities. Because yes, you are willing, but are you able? Would be the question.
Yeah.
One of the rebel MPs who was not invited, so actually a number of them, raised issues talking about, because in that same caucus he says he's reduced poverty by 160% since 1986. That's the story we hear about 1986. Now let me give you a different version in 30 seconds. In 1986 we had a positive balance of trade generally of about 40 million dollars. Positive balance of trade. That means we exported more than we imported. That went up to 1988. That's how long it took for our pseudo-communists to discover the pleasures of the good life. The only thing the only thing that is not communist about them is the way they eat money. That's capitalist. But their ideologies and everything is communist, as she said. But that's when now, by 1989, we were in a negative of $30 million. By 1995, we were in a negative of $300 million. Now, by 2017, not even 2017, we're in a negative of 3.1 billion US dollars. So you see how far it has grown. And this is because we have an appetite that far supersedes, the production, our ability to produce, and nobody is looking at that. Even when it comes out, it's in form of platitudes of let's stop dividing districts to give money to the youth, and that's because they are reacting to somebody who seems to be taking away the youth from them. Now, they are offering some things which, of course, are not going to be real. Now, you look at people who are totally communist, as she said, except when it comes to eating money. Now, they are more capitalist.
Joseph, let me just ask you, if I gave you State House today, if you were in President Museveni's shoes, Joseph, what would you do, especially amidst the coronavirus pandemic? Well, and elections are coming up. What's going on, but what is the alternative that you provide if you're the head of state?
Oh, there are so many alternatives. First of all, we've got to be very honest that the threat of the coronavirus is waning by the month. That's a fact.
I mean, figures are coming up. Number of cases are rising.
They are rising everywhere, but that doesn't mean that. But actually, countries that actually have had tens of thousands of fatalities are opening up. Very soon you are going to see people in stadiums, fans in stadiums. There was a campaign rally in America which has had the most number of deaths, 120,000. The incumbent was doing a rally, open air rally. We're having an election in Malawi today which had open air campaigns today. Now, that's, wait a minute. That election is in 2020, June 23rd. Now, we are using COVID as an excuse to despoil an election that is in 2021. One of the rebel MPs who was not invited, so actually a number of them, raised issues talking about, because in that same caucus he says he's reduced poverty by 160% since 1986. That's the story we hear about 1986. Now let me give you a different version in 30 seconds. In 1986 we had a positive balance of trade generally of about 40 million dollars. Positive balance of trade. That means we exported more than we imported.
Kabuleta, and I have put him, I asked, yes, he is offering himself, meaning that he is available, he's willing. Question yange, but are you able? And the thing that I was driving at is this perceived lack of experience that everyone is talking about. I mean, when we look all over the place, even in America, the leaders that have come in and stayed have all come in, nga tugamba experience, but he's seasoned, he's done XYZ things, wabanga abadde Democrat oba Republican. There's this issue and question of experience.
Well, actually, like you brought in this thing of America.
Yeah.
I remember even Obama, when he came up, not that I'm comparing myself to him, I've never really been a fan of his,
Yeah.
but when he came in,
Yeah.
he was a junior senator.
Senator,
He had been
yes.
in Senate just one term.
Yeah.
Then he goes for president. And he was standing against Hillary Clinton for the Democratic, seat.
Yes.
And she was saying, he's unseasoned, no experience. She, on the other hand, had been Senator of New York for some time, no experience. He beat on that. People actually chose the no experience over experience. And there is a reason why, because people's experiences have been negative for the most part from politics. Now they want something new. So they thought they would have that in Obama. Now when he wins a Democratic ticket, he stands against John McCain. What does he have against him? Experience. I've been in Senate for light years.
Yeah.
I fought in Vietnam, I did that experience.
He even did time in the prison. In the prison
Precisely.
camps. Yes.
And then what happens after that? Same thing. People choose inexperience. Then it comes to Trump. Hillary comes with the same argument. Experience.
Yeah.
People choose somebody
Trump
who has
totally
zero
Washington
experience.
person, but business,
Yeah, and what does he say? He's here to drain the swamp.
Yeah.
That was his catchphrase.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. So many people, the experience we've had has been negative.
Yeah.
So when you go with experience, you go with more of the same.
Yeah.
When you go with inexperience, you go with somebody who has the ability to turn the system around. And that's actually what I am promising. I'm not just promising things that I do not absolutely have all this passion.
Yeah.
The one thing that has driven me, negative or positive, if you look for depending on which side you look at it, has been passion.
Yeah.
Okay, and now all this passion to change things around, because the system that has guaranteed that the resources of this country stay in the hands of a few people has been built over decades. It takes a lot of it takes a new person to come and say, I'm tearing this down. We are building a new system where anybody who's, if you stay behind, it's because you're doing nothing. It's because you're not innovative.
Yeah.
You're not putting your hand somewhere. But if you do, you have a country that supports your cause to thrive. Now, if you want experience, of course you can go and go to the incumbent. He has a lot of it. But if you want a different system,
Yeah.
a tearing down of a system.
Kabuleta, isn't it reckless of us, not take away your position, to rondo muntu ataina experience?
No, that's really up to you, because I've told you, I've given you the options you have.
Yes.
If you have experience, you have 35 years worth of it in form of a candidate. Go and vote for him. If you want a different system, if you want a system that guarantees that wealth does not belong to one family and their hangers on, then go for inexperience. Those are your choices. There is no B, there is no C, there is A, B. So that really is the choice that you have.
Now, in that point, the inexperience, when we were mattering, I think a scripted it was sharing, we talked about King David. King David, back in Omoleta, Mumasobolio, Mufirisuit. Teaina experience.
Nothing. Nobody even knew him. So he comes around, and his experienced soldiers, including his brothers, Eliab and so on, had been running away from this giant of a man, 9 feet tall. 9 feet tall. He would be 9 feet.
That's way.
I think the biggest man we have now is 7 something.
He would be bigger than Shaquille.
And significantly bigger than Shaquille. 9 feet tall, and he stands there and he says, anyone to challenge me, everybody runs away. 40 days. Now David comes from looking after sheep, and his attitude is different. These people are, this man is, impossible. David comes with his youth and with a different mindset and says, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? I can tell you this. If David had stayed in that camp 7 days, he would have started
thinking like the other guys.
Exactly. You'd also start running. Yes. Now, what made David different is he did not give himself time to become part of the system. He came with a different mindset and immediately went for the man. And says actually when the man came for him, David ran towards him. In other words, he did not even want to give himself a moment to linger and say, but do I know what I'm doing? No, I don't have time for that. I have him. So you look at the man, he's coming towards you. you don't even give yourself time to think about what you're about to do. You run immediately and get down with it. So now here's the thing. There are people who have been in the system for quite some time.
Yes.
They know about, they might change a few things here and there.
Yeah.
But they will not do the revamp that I believe Ugandans need.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, there
are some who have been even in the army, because there's a way it's very hard for us, but training is over, to not be able to separate the army
from
how
leadership.
How are you going to come into the leadership of Uganda, but in a military background? So the options is even okay, maybe Muntu, because he was
in the army,
commander.
Now, those are the people I'm talking about who will be, I'm sure, for instance, him would be a better person than, the one that currently is there. But the revamp of the system might be out of his reach. Because here's the thing, there was a time that, and I see, go at this example in America, there was a time you would not be president unless you've been in the army or fought in Vietnam or something. And then Obama comes, he doesn't even know how to cock a gun.
Yeah.
And he's voted.
Yeah.
And then another one comes who doesn't even know any leadership, is just a businessman and he's voted. So the world, things are changing around, turning around. The idea that you need, the army needs leadership too. They are, by the way, one of the most disgruntled people. They need leadership as well, and they need leadership from civilians.
Yeah.
They need to be led to be army and be well remunerated, which they are not. They need to be well motivated, which they are not. So there are things which they need from their government. Everybody needs them. And don't you be deceived that they would stand up and say, no, we cannot let this. No. They will not do that. They have not done that in other places. Actually, in places where civilians have stood up, so many of the places, the army has stood with them, like Sudan. Okay, when the demonstrators come up, where was the army? It stood with them, like Egypt, where there was another 30-something, dictator. When the people stood up against the leadership, the army stood with them and protected them, protected their right to demonstrate. So armies have minds of their own these days. Uganda is not an isolated place. The army can stand and say, this country needs a better leadership. They have a mind of their own. They are people, they are members of this country, they see what's going on. They are also on our side of those who are not on the table. Okay? It's just perhaps a handful of them, maybe one or two, but most of them are also on the side of those who are not on the table. And they also are citizens of this country, and they also want to have a slice of that pie. So when they hear somebody talking like I'm doing, don't you think that, apart from, of course, the top leadership who want to keep the system in, don't you think that they're angry? No, they aren't, because when I'm talking Uganda, I'm talking about them too. And they need this message as much as anybody does.
Is Kabuleta our David with 5 stones and a slingshot?
That's where I was coming, actually. Should we expect, should we say like, you know the David that we should expect?
I painted the picture very well.
Yeah.
No experience.
Yeah.
The man comes
from nowhere.
Determined. Or journalist, or evangelist, and you appear
from nowhere.
For the highest office.
Not even like
is Kabuleta our David?
Well, you brought the example. And by the way, let me tell you, you know what you asked me about experience?
Yeah.
Do you know what David's older brother told him? With whom have you left those little sheep? You understand? So the sneering, the belittling is part of a script. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Your brother says,
I've had those conversations.
Thank you very much. You know, he even calls them little sheep. With whom have you left that little sheep?
Yeah.
And the person whom is ascribing to little sheep is the one who is about to, to slay the giant who has been there for, 35 years.
Yes.
So a giant is about to be slain. Make no mistake. By slain, I mean deposed. Okay, in this case.
Yes.
Yeah. So make no mistake. So do not think of me as that little person. Think of me as somebody who has come with an absolute mission, which is of benefit to all of us. All of us. And the language I'm speaking, I'm not saying anything new. We all know the things I'm talking about to be true. I'm not giving some secret information from some kind of archive somewhere. No.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this to be true. And everybody would want it not to be true.
Okay.
And I am the person who is going to make it not be true.
I wanted to really be clear on this one. because we are urban praise experience. Somehow, we are on a mainstream secular radio, but we are faith-based in our show. Where is God in all of this?
Yeah.
Is this you,
It was
your
God's call.
aspirations, or are you?
Katonda
Is God
yayogedde.
aina kyagambye nti tambula bw'oti?
Oh, let me tell you.
Because fene waffe tubitegeera. I know you oyinza okuba nga you sifting it for, nti ayogera ne Katonda abatayiza naye kati fene bw'oba oyogedde kale n'abali faith based. Where is what's God's position in all of this?
I believe God is with me. I believe God is with me.
Yes.
And He's absolutely with me. So, and I know that the force of God is with me, and I know that there's been a cry for the people of from the people of this country, those who have faith and those who do not, those who believe like we do and those who do not, everybody. And God loves everybody, you know that.
Yeah.
So I believe that I will serve the people of God the way He would want me to serve them, and make their lives prosper the way He would want them to prosper. God does not delight in anybody suffering, especially when, I'll tell you this, I'm sure as we close. In every country, you see these countries the way they were divided. God knew beforehand that there would be these countries there. And He made sure in every country He put something of value that will sustain the people who will live in that place. You understand? So you find countries desert, but they have oil. You have countries they have something, one thing that makes them, survive.
Yeah.
So God put all those resources for the people who will stay in that place. So when He deposited the resources that we have here, He did it for Ugandans. And it is His interest that the people who live in this country, who are from this country, can enjoy of those resources which He put in this country. Not for another country to come and siphon everything away, and the people who are there to remain empty. That is not the will of God. You understand? Because those countries to which they are siphoning things, God gave them something of their own by which they can also thrive. So why should they come? It's greed that causes people to come from this place, and they want all the resources, siphon everything away. The people of the country, they can go and hang. No, that's not the will of God. The will of God is the people who are born in this country, I gave you enough to make sure that you can thrive in your country. Now you go to every different country. Desert, God says they will have oil. That's how they will survive or thrive, and so on and so forth. So there is no country that has absolutely nothing. Okay? So, but because of the greed of some people, they want to come and take what God gave us and leave us empty-handed. Now that is the system I'm here to break, to make sure that we are not remaining empty-handed, we are remaining as proper custodians of what God gave us.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking to evangelist, man of God, journalist, stroke, so many things, and he's saying that not necessarily with experience, but he can come and step into that place.
Yeah.
He is demystifying that office.
Yeah.
Some of these things 35 years ago we were experiencing when the incumbent, the president, him and his team came and demystified it into Chemundu. To see a soldier with a gun, it just kind of meant something. Mzee went to the bush and got ordinary people. They were quite Chemundu. They were so demystifying it. So Kabuleta na yazze office. We're going to come back, and as we wrap up, tuwulire engeri ki abantu obakubidde otyo omulanga. I'll give you an opportunity to say something to the listeners. How do you prepare them to where we're heading? Right back.
So the purpose of my being here is to announce that I am standing for president next year. And I have a specific message which I want to put across. Now, my message, as you see in my statement, is that we live in a we were born, all of us, I believe, in a very blessed country. Uganda is blessed in the air with wonderful climate and weather, blessed on the ground with 1/2 of East Africa's arable land. The other 4 countries share the other half. We are blessed beneath the ground with 27 different minerals which occur in quantities that are commercially viable and that are going to start to be extracted in the next few years. We're also blessed to be in a country that has so many things and a lot of potential in different various areas. Also beneath the ground, of course, we are blessed with oil. 6.5 billion barrels lying under there, waiting to come out. Some of it has been coming out illegally and being sold, as you know, from me. But it's going to be official. So what I'm saying here is that the next few years are going to be the most important years of Uganda in terms of wealth, exploration, and acquisition of wealth. But then we all know that with the current system in place, that wealth will just pass us by. We will only be observers in how it is partitioned and distributed, and we shall never be partakers in it with the current system in place. Now, that's what I come here to address here today, because I'm standing on a ticket of financial liberation. I'm standing on the ticket of making sure that Ugandans become partakers in the wealth that is in this country, and not just observers and standers by as it is being siphoned and taken to a very, a very small group of people, so small they can fit in this room, who actually think they have absolute right to everything that this country has, and the rest of us are just supposed to be somewhere there and survive. Now, that is what we are coming to address. Now, make no mistake, this is going to be a huge movement for our financial liberation. And it has started here small, but just watch the space and see. Because the people of this country actually want, there is none of the other candidates who has stood on any particular message. None whatsoever. Mine is the message of money. Money. We are releasing money to the people, because let me tell you, the way this country is run, and you all know it, it's like the people are down here, and there's a pyramid, and the privileged few are up there, and there is a ceiling that makes sure that the resources never fall down here. Now, for the past few years, people have been feeding off crumbs and, things that fall through. But now the ceiling is concrete. Almost nothing falls through. Almost nothing falls through. So up there, we have people who are extremely wealthy and who treat, billions of shillings as if, they were, who weigh money rather than count it. Now, down here, on the other hand, we have people who are desperate. Okay? Now, what I am here to do is break that ceiling and make sure that what is up comes to the people who actually are in need of it. We are standing on the ticket of financial equity, equitable distribution of the resources of this country. We know that those resources are there. Do not be deceived. Uganda is a very rich country. Now, I'm telling you, some countries like Switzerland survive purely on honesty and integrity. That's all they have. They have nothing else. Just that. Others like Israel survive on innovation. Okay? Now we have, as I've told you, half of East Africa's arable land. Now that alone, in good hands, can make for good living in Uganda. Just that one thing. But we have extremely good tourism potential, very good arable land. We have oil, we have minerals. Any one of those things alone in a well-managed country can create prosperity for the people. Any one of them. We have 4 of them in good quantities, very good quantities, 6.5 billion barrels of oil. That's a lot of oil. We have 27 different minerals. We have as much as 1 billion tons of iron ore somewhere in Kabade, Chisoro, and Kanungu area. We have plenty of gold. They haven't even mapped that place in Karamoja. The budget allocated 82 billion shillings, this recent budget, for just exploration of the oil there. But just that allocation has caused a rift between two companies, one from the UK and one from Spain, because they can't wait to get their hands on Uganda's gold. The trouble is Ugandans are going to be passers-by or just stand there and watch it being taken as you continue in your hustle. Now, this is what we are here to address. And my thing is, there are so many people standing, whatever. My thing is financial liberation, ending what I called the economic civil war, and making sure that we can have a government that is a partner with its people rather than an adversary of them. Making sure that we have a government that actually is a parent to its people, because that's the role of a government, to kind of, innovate and see how its people can prosper. But we all know that this government is geared towards making sure that prosperity belongs to a few people, because they grew up knowing that poor people are easier to govern. That's how you rule for 35 years, by making people poor. Now, we are changing that, and we are starting a movement where the resources of this country and the wealth of this country, and let me tell you, make no mistake, I'm the only person who can deliver that. You try the rest and see, I'm the only one, I'm telling you. The others will stand on whatever ticket, get what, but when they go, they will do the same, more of the same. I'm the only one who can deliver that economic liberation where money gets into the hands of the people. We don't want growth, economic growth, to just be figures that fly out of budget speeches and so on. We want that economic growth to be a force in your wallets that you can write home about. That is the ticket on which I'm standing, and that is my, promise to the people of this country, even as I stand here today, that we are going to have economic liberation. We are going to have the resources of this country. The people who perpetuate themselves in power do so for the singular purpose of getting the wealth and keeping it amongst themselves. Now we, who are bringing that system down, are doing that so that all of the people of this country can be partakers in the good things that our Creator endowed us with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Daniel Retire with SBS Television. There has been a debate about scientific elections, whether within the opposition candidates. Secondly, there is talk of the United Forces of Change. Do you intend to also join the other opposition candidates who want to front-run opposition candidates to go against President Museveni? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the first question, I have more than an opinion, actually. I was in court yesterday challenging the scientific elections, as you might have heard, and I was seeking an interim order to stop the entire electoral process until all stakeholders have been consulted. And that injunction is still going on, although it was postponed from yesterday, and we'll have another hearing on Tuesday to see if we can get that interim order. So, of course, I have more than just an opinion on the scientific elections. I have a case in court challenging them, so that should make that easy. On the second thing of the United Forces of Change, now here's the thing. The problem with what has actually perpetuated this system in place is because everybody puts themselves as, well, we are standing against Museveni rather than standing for something. Now, Museveni is yesterday's news. He is going whether he wants it or not. And by the way, let me tell you something. He's only as strong as the fear he imposes on the population. Take away that fear, and he is very weak. He has never been weaker. He is on his way out. There is nothing that can prolong his government. I promise you that. I promise you that. You'll hold me up to that. There is nothing that is going to prolong his government beyond 35 years. So the whole thing of we are uniting to stand against Museveni, why doesn't he unite with all of them to stand against Kabuleta? You see, for me, I unite on the proper, in principle, not just removing Museveni. Because Museveni is mortal and he's weak right now. His whole system is in crumbles. The military are the most disorganized, disillusioned people more than anybody else. By the way, let me tell you, when these dictators look so strong, is when they're actually so weak. Remember Omar Bashir, remember Mobutu, remember all of them. When they seem so strong is when they are their weakest. And I know that for a fact. And I know that he is at his weakest. So I am not uniting with anybody unless they have a platform of economic liberation that matches with mine. Okay? And even if they have it, they will come and unite under me. Okay? Not with me. Because none of them has a message. They all have one thing: remove Museveni, remove Museveni. And by the way, let me tell you something. I met almost all of them. And they are opposition. You see, opposition. You see, you be in this thing for so long, it's like somebody calling you poor all your life that you don't even want to. If somebody calls you rich, you even get offended. Because you've been opposition, 20 years, opposition. No. Me, I'm here to propose a Uganda where the wealth of this country is distributed equally among its people. Not to oppose anybody. Museveni is not worth opposing. He's going to go. He's not even worth my time. And I wouldn't be mentioning his name, as you can hear, unless you brought it here. But you say he perpetuates himself in people's minds by thinking he's invincible. He is not. He is not. People thought Mobutu was. What happened to him? He just took a ragtag army to just march all the way to Kinshasa. And the next thing he was... So there is no uniting forces of change. We want more than just change. Let me tell you something, people of Uganda. You can get the change you want, and it will not be... You can get change, and it will not be the kind of change that you long for. And in many of those countries, people have actually gotten change. But then they even regret the change that they got. So there has to be a platform, something specific that you vote for. Now, we have to change the politics of this country from opposing somebody to actually coming up where I'm standing for this. This is what I'm standing for. And now, nobody has come and said that they're standing for anything. Ask them. What is your platform? What is it that you're standing for? Not what are you standing against, but what are you standing for? Now, for me, I'm not standing against. I'm standing for the financial liberation of the people of this country who have been held captive and in bondage for 35 years, their dreams frozen because they have a government that does not want them to thrive. Now, I am here to tell you that I am standing for those people, everybody, every single one of those, the people working in these hotels and what. These are people who have families and for whom we think, and they have to have a country where they know when we discover oil somewhere in Bunyoro, we are all going to be happy because we are going to be partakers. But we know that with this system, you will not be a partaker, and you know it, you just stay there hustling. But we have to stand up and fight because we can no longer be nobodies in our country. Because where are we going to be respected if not in our own country? Try going abroad and you see how they will treat you. So now we have to stand up and say that we are not going to be second-class citizens in our country, and I'm talking about financial citizens. We have to stand and say that we, the people of Uganda, want to be a partaker. We want to sit on that table where the cake is being distributed. Not just here, budget speeches, when then the rain and what, and so on, where figures do not reflect anywhere in your life, in your lifestyle, in your standard of living, or in your wallet. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question.
I we've seen many stand, just like the way you come out. How do you rate your chances of becoming the new president of Uganda?
100%. 100%. I have absolutely no doubt that I'm going to be the next president of this country. I have no doubt whatsoever, let me tell you, that I'm going to be the president of this country. And let me tell you that the others who have stood, what have they promised? What platform have they stood on? Other than we are standing against Museveni. What else? So that already makes me unique, doesn't it? Actually, ironically, it is him who sometimes comes up with things which he promises, which of course are lies. Bonava Gagaware and what. But those who are standing against him come up with nothing apart from change. But change of itself does not guarantee anything. The right change is the one that is going to make all our lives better, and we want it, and we need it. And by the way, we have the resources in this country to make our lives better. We do. The only thing that is standing in our way is bad government. The only thing that is standing in our way is bad government. Otherwise, we have the resources to make everybody's life here better. Everyone's, from the top to the bottom. All of them, we have an opportunity to make their lives better. And by the way, this is not even just about poor versus rich. There are rich people in this country who are suffering because the government comes for your wealth. Now you see they have imposed the wealth tax, which means they just come and look at the house you stay in and what, and then they impose a tax on you and you have to go to URA to defend it. So if you say you inherited, still you have to pay tax on it. So they're actually criminalizing wealth in all but the hands of their family. That's what it has become. So when it is outside of there, it is fake. It has to be, wealth tax. Now, somebody has accumulated wealth, and he has paid tax all the way until he built that house. There is nothing that he gets there that is not taxed. There is no business but then even after doing that, you still want to come and tax him based on the lifestyle. And why is that? Because it is a war. It is a war where they are, the government or the people in power, actually a small group of them, are pitted against all Ugandans. And they just want to drive everybody into abject poverty because they believe that is where you become easier to govern. Because if you're going around cycles of rent, school fees, you have no time for political opinions. And that's the first thing they do. And by the way, let me tell you, the first thing they want to do for everybody is to make sure that you do not have the financial means to challenge them. But now they don't know what they have coming. Because the message that I have is a message that resonates with every Ugandan, and I know it. And it's a message that will make people stand up and trust me because they have no choice. I am the one who can deliver what I am promising. None of those people will deliver it. Thank you very much.
Simon Talley for CNN Features. In absence of electoral reforms, what are your concerns regarding the electoral law as it stands, even when the state has refused to implement any recommendations from the Supreme Court?
Well, thank you, but here's the thing. The state as it is has so much power. And the only power that is stronger than the state is the power of a movement. For the lack of a better word, I really want to keep away from that word, but then there's no better word to use. You know what I'm saying? But there is too much power vested in in the state. For instance, the electoral laws. People have been trying to change them for so many years, they cannot. Now even this scientific election, you go to court, you see that you're pitted against a system that everybody is scared of. But let me tell you this. As I have told you, this government is only as strong as the fear it imposes on us. And by the way, I can tell everybody scared of them. But now we have to stand up and realize that we have a lot more to gain than we have to lose. Actually, we don't have too much to lose. So we have a lot more to gain than we have to lose. And we have to realize that the challenges are many, I'll be honest with you. But the opportunities are even more for us. Now, listen to this sermon today. The electoral laws and all those things as a result of people. Laws come out of people. Laws are not, laws change when there are different movements. You understand? Now, for instance, there was a time, I'll give you an example, there was a time when blacks, for instance, in America couldn't vote. They didn't challenge the law. They challenged the social status. And when the civil rights movement came up, the law had to change because it was no longer commensurate with what was on the ground. You understand what I'm saying? So, like, you don't go all the time and challenge the law because they will throw you to constitutional court and the case will take 5 years there. No, we don't have that time. I've had people saying that we negotiate with him and he has 5 years. We don't have time to negotiate. Who has 5 years to waste? I don't. Like 5 years of this same thing, nobody is going to stand that. We don't have 5 years to waste. We've already wasted 35, which is a lot of years. A lot of years. We were young when he came. Now we are here. And somebody is saying 5 more years. On what basis? So what happens, Sam, is that when there is a movement on the, something, like there was the civil rights movement, and it gathers momentum, the law changes automatically. True? And you've seen so many other laws that change as a result of the people rising up in a certain way. I'll give you an example of something which I wrote about, recently. Malawi, same thing, same scenario, same thing, incumbency, too powerful, appoints electoral commission, appoints judiciary, appoints what? But when there was a rigged election, the people actually stood up and refused to accept the results. And because of what happened on the street, court nullified the election. The streets don't follow court. Court follows the streets. That is the reality. The court of public opinion is more powerful sometimes than even the courts of law. Sometimes, not always. So, now with all these things standing up against him, like there will be, when the people of this country rise up like they are going to, there will be no choice but for all these things to happen. Because some of the things which happened there, don't believe that they're any different from us, that country. No, they're actually not different because they also had a 30-year presidency. Thankfully, theirs is in the past. Then they had a president who gave to his brother. Then his brother is one wanted, the second. All those things, you understand what I'm saying. So, but they stood up. The people finally stood up because they are being pushed to poverty, just like us. And they stood up and they said, no, enough is enough. We need to change something. We did it by starting a mass movement. And then the laws changed accordingly. So that's what we will do.
Okay, I have one more. You need a team in order for you to traverse the country. The election that you're calling for, the one that you are going to court to get. Do you have those people that are going to deliver the issue that you talk about 100%? And secondly, you are also you do not only wear this hat, you're also a man of God. Should we say that there is something spiritual, or have you passed this by your boss, who is God, before you came to stand here?
Well, thank you very much. Here's the thing. I have a team. I do have a team. And I've been having a team for quite some time, because I haven't just thought this idea up, by the way. and it's a very strong team. But it is going to become stronger and stronger, and it is becoming stronger and stronger. So we've been building a team for quite some time now, by the way, about a year. So this announcement is not the beginning of something. It is just an announcement of something that has been ongoing for a long time. So I have a team. Secondly, did I consult God? If God doesn't want me to be president, he will tell me that stand down. But now, in the absence of a red light, I'll take it for a green light. So I'm standing for the people of Uganda, including myself, and their financial liberation. I'm standing for the wealth of the people of this country. Okay? So, if God doesn't want me to stand, I'm waiting for his command. But let's just say, right now, it hasn't come, and I'm kind of not expecting it, so I'll go ahead. Okay, thank you. Statement form? Yes.